Hey, what's up, everybody? Today, we're going to talk about what it is you need to get a permit for your deck or your porch job. Hey, what's up, everybody? Shane with Battlefield Decks and Patios. Let's go ahead and get into it. So, to get a permit where you live, you typically need three things almost in every county around. So, we do work here in the Northern Virginia area. We do a lot of work in Fairfax County, Loudoun, Fauquier, Prince William County. They all have pretty much the same requirements. And I would suspect, if you're watching this in California or in Colorado or New York, you probably have similar requirements. But around here, the three major things are this. You have to be the owner of the property, or you have to be a contractor with the owner's permission to pull the permit for them, to represent them to pull the permit. You have to have what's called a plat, and you have to have building plans. So let's talk about ownership. If you're a renter, you can't pull a permit unless the owner that you're renting from signs a document saying you can represent them. So, in most cases, you're not going to be able to pull a permit for somebody's house. Owners can pull a permit, and then contractors can pull a permit. So we're a Class A contractor. We pull permits for people all the time. We're legally allowed to do that. We're set up with our portal on the counties to be able to represent homeowners whenever we pull those permits, and we fill that out in the application in a proper way to get that done. As a homeowner, really, you just have to fill out the application, and when they do an inquiry through zoning and site, they're actually going to look up your name and see if your name is listed as the owner of that property from when you had bought the house that was recorded with the title company. So your property taxes kind of have all that tied together, so they'll know if you were the owner or not. Next thing is the plat. So the plat is a engineer's survey of your property. So this will be a survey engineer document that's a survey of your property where you can see the property lines of your entire property with your house placed on it. The distance from your house to the sides of your yards, to the front and the back of the yards. The county uses this to distinguish what the setbacks are and where you're allowed to build at on your property. So one of the common numbers that we see a lot is 25 feet from the backyard, from the rear yard, 5 feet from the side yards, and something like 35 feet from the front yard to the house. And so a lot of times people's yards are fairly deep, so there's plenty of space that they're allowed to build in. But we do see times where people, can't build 25 feet from their rear property line, and that puts them like 6 feet off the back of their house. So there are certain situations where, depending on how your house is zoned and how deep your yard is, you may not be able to build there. So really, really important to kind of have that engineer's document, inquire with the county before you start the project to see if you can actually build. So we usually do a feasibility assessment before we start this process to see if we can actually do that. So I always recommend to people, if you're thinking about getting something built, go ahead and just make an inquiry at the county. Call the zoning department. We'll put that number down below too for Fairfax County if you want to look into that. But do an inquiry at zoning and see what the setbacks are on your property, and you'll be able to tell before you even get into the whole process of hiring somebody if you're going to be able to do what it is that you want to do. And then the third thing that we talked about was having building plans. So in Fairfax, in Prince William, in Loudoun, and in Fauquier, they all have what's called a typical deck detail. We're going to drop the link of that below in this video as well. And on those details, basically what the counties have done is they have made a kind of set of rules to say, hey, you can build a deck within these parameters without any building plans. Now, they'll want you to kind of draw like a little sketch drawing, like 2D drawing of how it's laid out, dimensions, width and depth, if there's going to be stairs and so forth. But they do that to make it easy for homeowners to be able to get a permit for a deck without having to go through a lot of plan review. Now, there are situations where you want to build a very complex deck that are going to fall outside of the parameters of that typical detail. And in those situations, you need to have a professional set of framing plans submitted to the county so the plan reviewers can then look at it, run calculations and say, yes, this is going to hold up. We don't have to worry about this falling over. So that's where we come in a lot of times. When people hire us, a lot of times we're kind of making all those inquiries for them at the county to see, hey, are they going to be able to build this project? What does it take to build this project? And then we are designing those framing plans accordingly to make sure that we know that the county is going to approve them. So we've kind of been doing this for a long time. So we've got all of that kind of stuff all figured out. But those are really the three things that you need in order to be able to get a permit just about in anywhere, any county in the country. So, own the property, make sure you have a plat, get some framing plans done, And when in doubt, just check with your local government municipality and talk to somebody in zoning or in building development and say, hey, I'm looking to build a project. They're always super helpful to help you out because they want to make sure that you're building things right and they're being built safely. So, all right, well, hopefully that was super helpful for you to know what it is that you need to get a permit in your county. Check out our next video. We're going to teach you how to choose the right contractor for your job to make sure that you get the right person the first time. See you there.